G'day, welcome to Storytelling and Daily Insights with Moon Willow. I'm Moon Willow. It's a pleasure to be doing this for you all today and trying to link into the universal energies that are going around for me, for everybody around at the time. And your energy coming through, even if you're watching this later on, that it actually impacts the way the readings go. So I'm hoping that this will actually resonate for a couple of you out there. And it's not about doing a reading for myself, it's about doing a reading for all of us. So hopefully it'll make sense to people. I have my dragon in the background. He's watching over me, and yeah, so let's start, shall we? I'm going to start with, like we did yesterday, start with a crystal, with my beautiful crystal bag, and see what comes out. And we've got solidite today, and it's to do with the throat chakra. So it's the things that we would like to say. There is many things in our psyche that we're communicating with people. We're just trying to walk through this world and we feel stuck. And a lot of times we end up having stickiness going off in our throats. And it impacts, and some people end up having a lot of coughs and raspy voices, etc. And a lot of that generally can mean that you're not actually saying or understanding what your truth is, and not working out how to say it. And I don't mean shout and scream at someone straight away. It is about taking that time as well just to think about what's true for you. It goes on with yesterday's adventuring and learning about what's comfortable for us and walking forward. And this is the next chakra up, and it's about how we actually speak our truth in a way that we can be heard, and we feel that we're being heard, but in an authentic way. And communication has always been one that's interested me over the years, because for me it's we have two levels of communication. We have what we say, but we also have something that comes through underneath. It's a meta communication, and it links in with our body language. And I'm sure that there's been many a time for people where you say something and people will react to you in a way that's not actually linked up to the words that we actually say at the time. And it's usually because we're feeling something else underneath. We may be aware of it or not, and that's what the other person is picking up. And it's a reflection of ourselves as we're interacting with the world when we go around. And for some reason, I'm reminded of a story at the moment of two people that go to London, and they both go to the same places, but one person has a really good time and the other one doesn't. And it's what we carry as well. It's how we're feeling about ourselves and how we are in the world as to how people react and respond back to us along the way in that. And that sometimes is how or why people will have different experiences, but with exactly the same place, exactly the same people. It's the energy we give out, it's how we feel. And well, the energy we give out to other people is the energy that comes back to us more often than not. So I don't know I'm hoping that makes sense to someone out there. So we'll go on to having 3 cards to link up with the solidite, our throat chakra, and we'll see what it is that we need to progress forward. As I say, this is just storytelling, so this will resonate for some people and not for others, and that's perfectly okay. So I'm just going to shuffle the cards. I'd like you all just to, again with your energy, just focus on the cards as I shuffle, and we'll see what comes out for everybody, hopefully. All right, so I am going to split them. I nearly didn't. I have fun splitting these. Yep, that feels all right. Okay. All right. So the 3 cards we've got the tree, fish, and a house. So I'll make sure I put these back down in the right way so that I can tell a story around each of them. So, and all of the way through it will link back hopefully to the solidite and our throat chakra and how we speak. So I love this card, the tree. The tree is about, it's the tree of knowledge, but it's about internal knowledge. It's sitting down with ourselves and actually giving ourselves time to actually breathe and sit fully in ourselves. So it's going back to what I was saying about the solidite and just taking that moment to recognize what it is we actually want to say, how we want to be perceived in the world. And the best way to do that is to meditate. I'm not a very good meditator, I have to say. I do try and meditate at least once a day. And I know that the meditations I do is probably not long enough to give myself the time to actually sit with me. And that's what the tree is saying, is about just sitting with ourselves and just taking that moment to breathe, because we have all the answers within. We go searching outside on a regular basis. I'm a bit of a magpie, so I collect bits of knowledge from everywhere and I keep searching externally. And actually I know that within me is all the answers if I just give myself time to actually sit with myself and listen to what I need to say, which goes back to the solidite. So again, it's your soul, your inner being is wanting the opportunity to be heard. And the only way we can actually be heard or hear ourselves is actually giving us the time and space to breathe around that. Now the fish unusually is not a fish. Well, it is a fish, but this is around finances and how secure we feel on an abundant level. But abundance is often considered just around money. And the thing that I've been learning recently is that it isn't just on a monetary aspect, that life has an abundance in so many different ways. We have an abundance in our friends, in our relationship with ourselves, in the world outside, just by having the abundance of nature has coming back in because of everything that's been going off over the past several months. There's been more birds, the plants, the flowers, the trees have all had an opportunity to breathe more. So we have got an abundance. So I feel that within this one, that in this particular reading, that it is about as we find ourselves, as we nurture ourselves within, we actually can appreciate the abundance that we actually have in our lives at the moment, even though if we look at it on a very material level, it may not feel at the moment that we have a lot on a financial level, but we may actually just have enough, and that's okay. But it can become quite panicky and can become quite anxiety provoking, and within anxiety that actually impacts the way that we're able to speak, how we interact with the world, how we move forward in the world as well. So the next card is the house, and in this particular instance, again, I think because of where the initial card was with the solidite as well, it is back to the house not being an external building. The house itself is more to do with our bodies, that our bodies are our houses. It houses our soul, in my opinion. You may disagree with me, and that's perfectly okay, but in what I've learned over the years and how I actually feel and understand the world, and it is my understanding, it's my truth, it's my story, that our souls are actually housed in our bodies, and it's about taking that time to have to nurture ourselves, and that goes back into the tree. It's actually sort of like having a bath or a shower, just pampering ourselves a little bit, so that actually gives us the moment, again going back into meditating, back into feeling where we are, so that we can actually understand and be aware of where our truth is. so that we can speak more authentically. If we're feeling anxious, if we're stressed, if we're worried, then we tend to trip ourselves up on our words, and we're more inclined to have disagreements with other people. And it's not actually giving us a clear way through to actually figuring out how our bodies need nurturing. Just by speaking to our bodies, we can understand the bits that are being missed. Where we have pain, how we can actually soothe that pain, and how we can actually speak nicer to ourselves as well. It is a very difficult thing to not look in the mirror in the morning and look at ourselves and be critical of our bodies. And they're actually doing a good job. They've got us through life. They've got us to where we are today. And we wouldn't be able to do that soul-wise if we didn't have our bodies. And sometimes they don't work in the way that we want them to. I have had difficulty trying to get up off the floor on a regular basis. But I love the way my body moves, and it's about, again, going back to the tree as well, and just sort of sitting and appreciating that our bodies do actually work in the manner that's right for ourselves. And if it's not working in a way that is meant to be or feels right, there is generally a story behind that as to why your soul wants you to stop and listen and hear what it is, or why it is that particular body part, or if we've got a particular illness, what it is that illness is trying to tell us. I do believe that we come into this world for a specific purpose, and it's really difficult to find that purpose, especially if we're not taking time to sit, to hear, to be able to speak our truth. That actually impacts on our financial and our abundance that we have in the world, because we end up focusing on the negativity as opposed to the positivity. And various things I've been watching recently, and I tend to believe it, is that if we put out a negative vibe, then that's what we attract back in, which goes back to the story of those two people going into London. One person is expecting a good time, so they have a good time. The other person is expecting a bad or a negative time, and that's what they end up having. And we reinforce our tales, we reinforce the stories we tell ourselves by taking that out in the world. But the only way we can really understand that fully is by sitting with ourselves, speaking to ourselves authentically and lovingly, going back into the aventurine of yesterday, of just fully loving ourselves unconditionally, understanding that the decisions we've made in life were based on the information we had at the time, and that's okay. And we need to be able to let ourselves off that hook, to be able to progress forward, to learn what our truth is, and to learn how to go forward. So I hope that makes sense to people out there, and I hope it does resonate to one or two of you listening to this. I really appreciate you joining me today for more storytelling and daily insights, and it feels a really, I don't know, it just, yeah, I really enjoy doing this, so thank you for coming and listening. So, and I'm going to end like I did yesterday with a sound that has come through to me today. And again, I hope that connects and resonates my heart to yours. I really appreciate you being here with me today. Thank you very much. I look forward to doing this again tomorrow. Love you.